You guys good?
Hold on 1 second. You're doing white balance or mic check?
Both. Starting with white balance. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check. Timer 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2. Good?
Yeah.
And your white balance good? Everybody? Ashley, good?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good. Nobody's like, put the effort. I don't really even think now. Friends outside saying, yeah. I don't even hang out with Walker at all. I mean, I do too. Mr. Hart wants to start at 11:15. Which now I look back at pictures. Well, I got, so I would have been on much better shape for the last So like, yeah, I remember listening to myself too hard. Like I work out twice a day. I do yoga and Pilates in the morning and then at night. And then boom, like I ran. I remember I got all the way up to 20 miles.
here this way too.
Good morning, y'all. Thank y'all for coming. We're here today on behalf of Bessie Durham's family. My name is Attorney Chris Hart. I'm joined with Attorney Seth Rose and Attorney Justin Bamberg. We are here to make sure that we hold Belks accountable for their actions against Bessie Durham. This time last year, 1 year ago, Bessie Durham was found slumped over, body decomposing on Belk's restroom floor, September 19th of last year. Bessie Durham was a contract worker who went out to clean and inspect the stores for Belk's. She went in on September 15th, her normal job duties. She went into the store, and shortly after, she went into the restroom. Unfortunately, when she went into the restroom, she had a cardiac event, and that's where she laid for the next 4 days. Belk's has not taken responsibility. They have not taken any type of obligation to say they were wrong. They said nothing. 4 days later, they went into the bathroom and they discovered Bessie Durham's body. Her body was badly decomposed. Belk's had a duty, a moral duty, a legal duty to inspect their store, to inspect their restrooms, which they did not do for 4 days. But one thing they did do for those 4 days, they kept the cash register ringing for 4 days. They swiped, they tapped, they inserted credit cards for 4 days, steady generating billions of money revenue for those 4 days. So we're here to hold Belks accountable. Attorney Seth Rose would like to say something briefly about those 4 days for Bessie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Seth Rose, and I'm honored to represent this family along with my co-counsel. We appreciate everyone coming out here today. As I think about this situation and the national attention that it has garnered, why is there so much interest in this horrible, tragic situation? And the answer is because of the egregious conduct of Belks. This is what gross negligence looks like. Our client was a dedicated employee. She worked hard, but she was a human being. She was a family woman. She was a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. And you can tell by the amount of family members that showed up here today, she was much loved, and she is missed. That is important because as she laid for 4 days in this bathroom undiscovered, nobody looking for her, despite the fact that her cart, this is not a basket, but a cart, was outside of the bathroom while employees, customers, managers walked past it. The difference is a customer had no way of knowing, unlike management who has a duty and Belks who has a duty to maintain and inspect their property. As my co-counsel said, the cash register kept running. Because of the 4 days that lapsed, this gross negligence on behalf of Belks, this family was not even afforded the decency to have a proper funeral, a proper goodbye to their loved one. We cannot undo the harm, we cannot undo the egregious conduct of Belks, but we can hold them accountable to ensure that this never happens again. And that is exactly what we intend to do. Mr. Bamberg? Do you want to say something?
This is one of Bessie Durham's daughter here.
Bessie was a hard worker. She was devoted, loving, and far more than just being an employee. She was a loving mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, friend, wife. And we're all just wanting ownership to be taken. We're all left with multitude of emotions and a gaping hole in our hearts forever. And we love and we miss her so much.
As you've heard, as you've seen the pain that this family's been through over the past 12 months, it's hard. It's 2 days that you remember in your life. You remember your loved one being born, and you remember your loved one dying. You never forget those 2 days. A lot happens in between, but you never forget those 2 days. This family had a moral obligation to give Bessie Durham a proper funeral and burial. Belks robbed them of that. They could not do it because her body was so badly decomposed. 4 days. How do you have this cart in the hallway for 4 days? But here's what Belks did do. Upon information and belief, we believe that Belks called the contractor to ask them, why is the bathroom not being cleaned? But here's what they didn't do. They didn't ask about Bessie. They didn't ask if Bessie's doing okay. They didn't ask, why hasn't this cart moved in 4 days? They didn't ask that question. They asked, why was the bathrooms not being cleaned? So how did we get here? Belks, upon our information and our belief, Belks created inherent dangerous condition. If you remember, right before this happened, there was a shooting at the mall. Right after that shooting, Belks decided to implement a policy to lock the door to the bathroom. That policy created inherent condition that entrapped Bessie Durham inside of that bathroom. And because of that, this family is still suffering. They couldn't even have an open casket funeral. They couldn't even identify their mother. They never got to say, as we all would like to do for our loved ones, pay your last respect. They didn't get that opportunity. Thank you. We'll take any questions if you have any questions.
Yes, has it been determined or was it ever determined if Miss Durham's body was found earlier, then maybe she would still be alive?
We don't know that for sure, but we do believe that she had a cardiac event while she was in the restroom. And the interesting that we've learned through our investigation, over 40,000 people, roughly 40,000 people, die on the toilet every year. It's just an event that happens. If you remember, Elvis died on the toilet. The hip-hop star Coolio died on the toilet. So as a retail establishment, you have to incur and insinuate that these type of events will happen. It's no different than being at home and your loved one dies. If you're at home and your loved one dies, you have an obligation to immediately call 911, immediately call law enforcement. They didn't do that. So one question that we asked Belk that they can't answer and they won't answer because they're saying we didn't kill her, we don't have anything to do with it. Here's the question that they won't answer. If they felt they have no responsibility at all, when they found her, why didn't they leave her in there if they didn't have any responsibility? They had a responsibility to immediately call 911 and call law enforcement. Immediately upon her death, they needed to properly store her body so it did not badly decompose.
You know, you said that Belk has failed to take action. What has the communication been like between you guys and Belk, or just the attempts?
We've attempted to ask them to take responsibility prior to filing the lawsuit, not in a formal way, but just having some general conversations. However, they have failed to take responsibility. And that's why we're here with Seth Rose and Justin Bamberg. It's a privilege and an honor for us to represent this family and hold Belks accountable.
Was this like a family bathroom, like just one person in there? And you mentioned the locked door. Was it one of those with the door locked behind them where people couldn't have gotten in without a key?
Our understanding is that this was a family bathroom. Our understanding that the locked door did not happen until after the shooting that occurred at the mall. That's when Belks implemented that policy.
But people would use that bathroom. I mean, obviously it wasn't like a close sign on it.
That's correct. That is correct.
And as far as, I don't know if she was on the schedule for the next few days that followed, but did anyone, call or check if she missed a shift, anything like that?
It's interesting you mention that because we're also going to hold her employer responsible, which is KBS. So KBS, what you do is when you go in, you log in with an app on your phone. So she logged in that morning at 7 a.m. She never logged off. She never logged back in. So KBS knew she was missing also, and they did nothing. So KBS had a duty to inspect and clean the restrooms, which they didn't do. Belks had a duty to supervise KBS, which they didn't do.
What time you said she
Based off the limited amount of information that we've seen, it was shortly after 7 that she went into the restroom. So what happened was Belks never discovered her. What happened was law enforcement called Belk asking about her whereabouts after the family called law enforcement. So that's how they found out. So Belks went back and KBS went back and reviewed the video. But it was 4 days later. They should have reviewed the video that very same day. They reviewed the cash registers, but they didn't review those videos.
So it was 7 a.m. on a Friday, and then the body was discovered what time on Monday?
No, it was 7 a.m. on a Thursday. I think September 15th last year was a Thursday. So it was a Thursday, and her body was not discovered until the next following week. And that's why we filed a lawsuit on this day, the date that she was found, in remembrance of her. We haven't determined amount. We do want to, in discussions with the family, we do want to establish a scholarship fund on behalf of Bessie Durham in her name for low-income girls to go to trade school, any college, university, to help them out. So we have not determined a specific amount.
Just out of curiosity for the family, you did not call Bill that it would have taken much longer?
Absolutely, it would have. It took those 4 days. And again, the store manager called Bessie Durham's employer to ask why the restrooms were not being cleaned. However, they never asked about her whereabouts. They never asked about this cart right here.
Is KBS involved in this lawsuit in any way?
We will be filing against KBS also. Correct, that is correct. So one of the cause of actions is Belk's the negligent selection of an independent contractor. Based off a recent case law that just came out this past summer, they will be held responsible for selecting that contractor.
How long has she been going to Belk's?
She had been employed with Belk's for approximately 8 years, according to the family. Then Belk switched to a contractor where she started working for the contractor after that.
How often did the contractor send her to Belk?
Her normal shift. Her normal shift would be, daily, several days. The shifts fluctuated.
So is it safe to say that the people that she was working with knew her very well?
Absolutely. She was loved by everybody in the community. Even when it happened, you had such an outpouring of love and respect and dignity for her. All her friends, all her family, she was very loved, even by her co-workers. She was very loved by everybody except for Belk.
So, let's see if I can say, okay, she'd be assigned to Belk, and when she was done there, would she go somewhere else after that?
No, she only worked in that store.
And was that every day, or was it every other day?
Her shift would vary. That's what I'm saying. Her shifts varied. Attorney Bamberg.
So the moral of the story is people who are supposed to care about you, right? No, they did not care. Work family, we hear these stories about work family and work environment with employees and people we deal with in business. No one cared about her. I am sorry, no one is going to go missing. And I can speak from personal experience, okay? I had an employee at my firm. She was older. She had certain health conditions. We kept an eye on her. And one day, her name was Paulette McDonald. One day, she was supposed to show up for work. She had not called in. She had not texted anybody. No one had heard from her. So what we did, because we care about the people we work with, we went to her house. And you know what we found when we got there? That her TV was on, that her dog was inside barking, that her car was in the driveway. We called law enforcement. They made entry. And guess what? We found Miss Paulette, a woman I have known my entire life who helped raise me. We found her dead on the toilet because she had a heart attack. And a lot of times, if you have a heart attack and you're at a certain age, you get this feeling, this physical feeling as though you have to use the bathroom. That is why so many people are found dead from heart attacks on the toilet. But the whole point is, at some point, business has to start caring about people. She was more than just a cleaning lady. She was more than just a custodian. She was more than just a lady who, hey, why are our bathrooms not clean? Y'all are not doing your job. A smidget. We talk about faith the size of a mustard seed. That's the faith this family has. That one day, Belk will do the right thing. But a smidget, a mustard seed size of caring about somebody. And then this family would have had the opportunity to say goodbye the right way, instead of having to sit at a funeral and be able to smell the decomposing body of someone that they care about. It is infuriating. And again, from personal experience, as an employer, as a friend, and as a family member, I have seen this situation firsthand, except we cared. And Miss Paulette didn't sit in that bathroom decomposing for 4 or 5 days. And it's scary to think that if the family had not called law enforcement, if no one had checked, how long would she have been there?
How long was she missing before she was reported missing?
I think maybe 2 days, 2 or 3 days, the family had reported her missing. So, it wasn't unusual not to speak with her every single day. When my mother was alive, I didn't speak with my mother every single day. It would be every other day or 2 or 3 days. But after the 3rd day, if you don't hear from your mother, you know something is wrong. Something just doesn't feel right. And for me, it's personal. This family is my family. My mother, when she was alive, she cleaned restrooms at department stores. She was a custodian. She cleaned and scrubbed bathrooms in office buildings. So for me, this is personal. And we take it personal to make sure that Belks is held accountable.
What do you anticipate Belk is going to argue in this case? And how are you going to argue against it?
Well, they're going to argue that they didn't kill her, that it was not their responsibility that she died. But it was their responsibility to immediately discover her body. It's no different than me being here at my law firm and someone going in the restroom and they die in the restroom. I have a duty to that person to discover their body and immediately call 911.
Is any of the lawsuit directed at specific employees, or is it just Belks?
We have filed what you call respondeat superior, and we are going to hold some employees responsible.
I know that at some stores, I used to work at Belk years ago in college, and we had to check the curtains to make sure that all customers were out in every location. Have you guys asked about that?
Upon information and belief, Belks has stated, we don't know this for certain, but we believe they have stated they did not know if they had any policies to inspect the store. They didn't know about their policies, but the law requires them to inspect their store. They have a duty to inspect their store. And then they can't delegate it to someone else to do that. If they delegate it, they have to supervise those people who they delegated that duty to.
Was Ms. Durham the only custodial worker?
No, my understanding that there was, from the family, I have learned that there was one other custodian worker. The family has advised me that it was 2 workers cleaning the whole entire store.
Did any customers notify the store asking about that, or why the bathroom was locked, or any of that? No?
Not from the information that we have. We're still gathering information. You got to realize this investigation took several months, so law enforcement still has not released the documents, not all of the documents.
You said that she was loved by her coworkers. Have you guys talked to any of them?
Yes, the family has spoken with the co-workers. Yes.
Just to make sure I'm clear, you're saying that the door locked behind her when she went into the bathroom?
Correct, and the only way to access it was with a key, and that was after the shooting at the mall. All right, thank you all.
Yeah,
thank you.
all. Thank you. All right, we'll go back on in.
Oh, absolutely.